The goal of this form is to get to a close enough range that all you need to do is extend your arm to hit your opponent. You want to make sure you get to this range safely though. The way you do that is by maximizing the coverage your weapon provides and keeping the body low to eliminate more targets. You also want to gain an advantageous angle outside of range so that once you're in range you already have an advantage and aren't trying to look for one in range. If you can get to this critical range and your opponent needs to use a tempo to step or move to escape the advantage you gained, then all the better because now you can hit them in tempo, with an arm extension thrust, the fastest attack in fencing. Gaining an angle outside of range also applies to gaining their weapon through good coverage. This way you don't have to use the tempo of your hand to gain their weapon. You want to save the tempo of your hand for the last moment of your attack. Because of this, your gains are done through the angles of the foot and the body. Bracing your sword arm up against your body also gives you a very strong gain, which has a high chance of making the enemy disengage and spend a tempo that you can exploit and hit them in the middle of with an arm extension thrust. If they don't disengage and you gain the angles you needed, then you have control, so you can attack through means of a straight arm thrust while maintaining the gain as needed. If they retreat when you go to gain their blade, then just arm extension thrust, as the movement of your hand is faster than the movement of their feet. You can feint with footwork feints and get them to expend the tempo of their hand to parry, while you still have the tempo of your hand to capitalize on them using up their fastest means of defense. If they retreat, it'll be at the speed of the foot, which is slower than the speed of the hand. This is why sometimes it can be good not to do sword before body. Sometimes you want to save your fastest tempo or segment for the attack. Some other things to note. When it comes to closing range, you can either completely lock out one side and be low to eliminate targets and sneak your angles and range changes with small increments. Or you can close very quickly. If you want to close quickly, it can help to be in a more upright stance with your legs less wide so they can't be targeted. Since you're standing more upright, you can close faster but your legs will be more exposed. This is why you use a less wide stance when trying to close quickly. When it comes to blade coverage, there are several options. You can completely lock out one side with your weapons and keeping your body low, or you can use adaptive coverage and cover their blade heavily and their routes to force them to take the long route. You could also close the specific lines you want so they attack into the open line of your choosing. This way can be more risky, but it isn't a bad idea if you leave the opening based on it being an attack or angle that they are bad at, or the opening is also where your best parry is. This way they are attacking into your best parry. When it comes to whether you should bind or not, sometimes it can be beneficial to try and stay in the bind. The reason is when you bind you can use your sense of touch to react. This is important in this situation because you're getting so close to the enemy that you could also be in their arm extension thrust range. So having your sense of touch for a faster reaction is important because the closer you get, the less time you have to react. So boosting your reaction time through binding can be very helpful to defend and capitalize on their blade movements. Let's cover some more things to note. If your opponent attacks or closes, sometimes it can make hitting them with an arm extension thrust easier because they close the range for you. And also when it comes to laying pressure on them and closing, a lot of times you'll end up backing them into a corner, limiting their options, and making it even easier to get them where you want, so that you can hit them with a simple arm extension. To review, we're going to be gaining angle outside of range, close with great protection, and save the tempo of your hand for your attack. You want to have great position, great coverage, and win through speed of the hand.
Nice.